Adrian lived in a large, elegant mansion on the outskirts of the city. The house was beautiful, filled with expensive furniture, sparkling chandeliers, and every comfort money could buy. But despite the grandeur, the home felt empty. Adrian's wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him to care for their 2 young children, Noah and Lily, on his own. Since that day, the laughter and warmth that had once filled the house had faded. There was a quiet sadness in the halls, a silence that made every corner of the mansion feel lonely. Adrian tried to keep busy with his work, traveling and business meetings, but when he returned home, he often found himself sitting alone in the large living room, listening to the soft hum of the city outside and wishing things could be different. Noah and Lily were the light of Adrian's life. Noah, the older of the 2, was clever and observant. He often noticed things that adults missed. Lily, younger and more sensitive, had a heart full of love and curiosity. Since their mother passed, they had grown quieter. Their smiles were fewer and their laughter was rare. Adrian worried constantly about them, wondering if they were happy or if they were simply learning to hide their sadness as he had. He tried to be both mother and father, but he knew that something was missing. He longed to see them carefree again, to hear their giggles echo through the hallways. One morning, a new maid arrived at the mansion. Her name was Clara. She was a quiet woman in her late 20s with a calm presence that seemed to fill the space she entered. Clara had worked in several households before, but there was something different about her. She carried herself with humility and kindness, and when she greeted Noah and Lily for the first time, her eyes sparkled with warmth. She knelt down to their level, smiled softly, and asked their names. The children, shy at first, felt an unusual sense of comfort in her presence. She didn't seem rushed or impatient, and she listened to their answers with genuine interest. As days passed, Clara settled into her routine. She cleaned the house efficiently but never hurried through tasks. More importantly, she began to connect with the children. She helped them with their homework, prepared their meals just the way they liked, and listened to their stories about school and friends. Noah started to share little jokes, and Lily began to giggle at the small, funny stories Clara told. Adrian noticed these changes from afar and felt a mixture of relief and curiosity. He had never seen his children so engaged with an adult who wasn't their mother. Clara had no official role beyond being a maid, yet she was bringing life back into the house. Adrian had been encouraged by his friends and business partners to remarry. They suggested he consider women who matched his social status, women who could complement his lifestyle and maintain appearances. He had attended several social events, dinners, and galas, meeting women who were elegant, wealthy, and well-educated. Yet in every interaction he noticed a lack of genuine warmth. These women smiled and spoke politely, but they did not seem to connect with his children. Noah and Lily would sit quietly, their eyes drifting toward the windows or their toys, avoiding conversation. Adrian began to question whether love could be measured by wealth or status. Perhaps it was something deeper, something that could not be bought. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Adrian returned home to find Noah and Lily sitting in the living room, drawing quietly. He sat beside them, asking about their day, and noticed how carefully they chose their words. Noah hesitated before speaking, while Lily's pencil trembled in her hand. Finally, Lily whispered, almost to herself, that she wished their dad could find someone who really cared about them, not someone who cared only about money or appearances. Noah nodded silently in agreement. Adrian felt a lump in his throat. Their words were simple, but the meaning was profound. He realized that his children were longing for love in its purest form, love that could not be measured by wealth or titles. From that moment, Adrian's perspective began to change. He observed Clara more closely, noticing the small things she did that went beyond her duties. She remembered Noah's favorite cereal and Lily's preferred bedtime story. She tucked them in at night when Adrian was away on business trips and made sure they felt safe and cared for. He began to see that these small acts of kindness mattered more than grand gestures or lavish gifts. The children had found joy in her presence, and he began to wonder if perhaps love was something that could be chosen with the heart, not with reason or expectation. Clara, unaware of the deep impact she was having, continued her work with quiet dedication. She did not seek recognition or reward. Her satisfaction came from seeing the children smile and knowing that they felt happy and safe. Adrian found himself spending more time at home, watching these interactions unfold. He realized that the house, which had once felt empty and cold, was beginning to feel warm again. He saw Noah's eyes light up when Clara told a funny story, and heard Lily's laughter echo through the halls when she played a game with her. These moments, small and ordinary to anyone else, were extraordinary to Adrian. Adrian's friends continued to press him about remarriage, introducing him to more wealthy and elegant women. They arranged meetings, luncheons, and social gatherings. Each time Adrian attended out of politeness and curiosity, but he felt no connection. The women spoke of material things, of status and appearances, and while Adrian listened, he felt his heart growing heavier. Noah and Lily, always by his side during these events, remained polite but distant. They did not laugh or show interest. Adrian began to understand that genuine connection could not be forced. He realized that his children's happiness mattered more than social approval or public image. One quiet night, after putting the children to bed, Adrian sat in his study, reflecting on everything he had seen. He thought about the rich women who had come and gone, the laughter that seemed absent, and the joy that Clara had quietly brought into their lives. He realized that the heart could not be guided by wealth or society. Love and trust were earned through kindness, patience, and genuine care. He wondered if he had been looking for love in the wrong places all along. The next morning, as the sun streamed through the large windows of the mansion, Adrian watched Clara help Noah and Lily get ready for school. She tied their shoes carefully, reminded them to eat breakfast, and walked them to the car, chatting and laughing along the way. The children were smiling, and Adrian felt a sense of peace he had not felt in years. He knew that their bond with Clara was growing stronger every day, and he could not ignore the truth any longer. She had touched their lives in ways no one else could. Adrian realized that something unusual was forming, a connection that could not be explained by logic or status. It was the kind of bond that could change the course of their lives. He knew that soon he would have to make a choice that could surprise everyone, including himself. For now, though, he watched quietly, grateful for the laughter returning to his home and the warmth that Clara brought into their lives. He understood that sometimes love appears in unexpected places, in quiet acts of kindness, and in people who never ask for recognition. And in that moment, Adrian felt hope for the first time in years. Adrian had spent many evenings thinking about how best to approach his children's happiness. He realized that their opinions mattered more than he had ever imagined. One afternoon, while sitting with Noah and Lily in the cozy sunroom, he made a decision that shocked even him. He told them that they would have a very important role in choosing someone special to be a part of their family. The children's eyes widened in surprise. They had never imagined that their voices could have such power. Adrian explained that he wanted them to be happy and feel safe, and that whoever joined their family should be someone who genuinely cared about them, not someone interested in wealth or status. Noah and Lily were thrilled and curious. They asked countless questions. Could they really choose anyone? Did this mean the women they had met at dinner parties or galas could be considered? Adrian nodded, reminding them that the only rule was that the person must truly care for them and be kind at heart. The children nodded, their imaginations buzzing. For the first time in years, they felt a sense of excitement about the future, instead of sadness over the past. Over the next few weeks, Adrian invited several women to meet the family. Each one was charming and well-dressed, smiling politely and trying to impress the children. There were women who owned businesses, women who had traveled the world, and women who had been praised for their beauty and social skills. Each woman brought gifts, spoke about her accomplishments, and tried to connect with the children. Adrian watched carefully, hoping to see a spark of genuine happiness in Noah and Lily. But the children remained distant. They smiled politely when asked questions, but their eyes often wandered elsewhere. They did not laugh, did not show excitement, and often seemed more interested in their toys or the garden outside than the conversation. Adrian began to see that appearances and accomplishments meant very little to them. They longed for something they could not describe, a warmth, a connection, a sense of safety that came from being truly cared for. Even the women who tried their best could not bridge the gap. Adrian realized that the children's hearts were guiding them in ways that he could not control. During this time, Clara continued her work quietly, never drawing attention to herself. She cleaned the rooms with care, prepared meals exactly to the children's tastes, and helped them with their homework. She read stories to Lily in the evening, and played games with Noah that encouraged his imagination. She remembered every detail, the way Noah liked his cereal, the way Lily wanted an extra blanket on cold nights. These small acts of care went unnoticed by the visiting women, yet they were deeply appreciated by the children. They found comfort in Clara's presence, a sense of stability they had not felt since their mother passed. One afternoon, after the visiting women had left, Noah turned to Lily and whispered, "I think we know who we want." Lily nodded, her eyes bright with understanding. She looked toward Clara, who was in the kitchen preparing their favorite snacks. They knew, without a doubt, that she was the one who made them feel safe, happy, and loved. She did not bring gifts or talk about her achievements. She simply cared, and that mattered more than anything. Noah and Lily felt a sense of joy and relief at knowing their choice. They had found someone who made their world brighter. Adrian noticed the change in his children's behavior and began to understand why they felt so drawn to Clara. He observed her interactions with them, noticing how patient she was when they were frustrated, how she encouraged their creativity, and how she comforted them when they were upset. She had no need for recognition or reward. Her happiness came from seeing the children thrive and knowing that they felt loved. Adrian could see why his children felt such a strong connection. Clara was not just a caretaker. She was someone who had become part of their hearts in a way that no one else could. Adrian also noticed how Clara handled the busy household. She balanced her responsibilities with grace, never losing her calm or showing frustration. When the children were tired or upset, she would soothe them without being asked. When Adrian returned late from work, he often found the children laughing and playing with her, their faces glowing with genuine joy. It became clear that Clara was more than a maid. She was someone who brought life back into the house and filled the emptiness that had lingered for so long. As the days passed, Adrian decided to give his children a more active role. He invited them to spend time observing the women who came to meet the family, noting how they interacted with the children and whether they seemed genuinely interested in their well-being. The children watched closely, learning to see beyond appearances and charm. They whispered to each other about how the women acted, whether they were sincere, and how they made them feel. Slowly, it became clear to Adrian that the children were forming their own judgment, guided not by social expectations but by their hearts. The children's choice became a topic of conversation at the dinner table. Adrian asked them to describe what they wanted in a person who could join their family. Lily said she wanted someone who was kind, who would listen to them and who would make them feel safe. Noah added that he wanted someone who was patient and who could make them laugh even on sad days. Adrian realized that these were not requirements that could be measured by wealth, beauty, or social status. They were qualities that came from within, qualities that were often overlooked by society but were essential for love and family. Clara continued her quiet presence in the background, unaware of the children's growing admiration. She focused on her work, caring for the household and the children without expecting anything in return. Adrian observed her, noticing the small ways she showed love and dedication. She remembered birthdays, special events, and personal preferences. She was thoughtful, attentive, and consistently reliable. Every interaction she had with Noah and Lily was filled with warmth and sincerity. Adrian began to feel a deep respect and appreciation for Clara, realizing that her impact on his children's lives was far greater than any of the women he had met at social events. One evening, as the children were getting ready for bed, Adrian sat with them and asked if they had made any decisions yet. They exchanged glances and then quietly said the name Clara. Adrian was silent for a moment, letting their words sink in. He looked toward the kitchen, where Clara was finishing her tasks, unaware of the pivotal role she had come to play. Adrian's heart swelled with emotion. He realized that the children had chosen someone who had touched their lives in the most meaningful way, someone who had given them care, love, and attention without asking for anything in return. Adrian felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He was proud of his children for trusting their hearts and recognizing what truly mattered. At the same time, he knew that society would not understand their choice. Wealthy friends and family members might question why he would consider someone of Clara's background. But as he watched his children smiling and feeling safe, Adrian realized that nothing else mattered. The happiness of Noah and Lily was more important than public opinion or social expectation. Over the next few days, Adrian observed the growing bond between Clara and his children even more closely. He saw how they laughed together, how Clara comforted them when they were upset, and how she encouraged them to explore, learn, and play. Every moment spent with her seemed to strengthen their trust and affection. Adrian began to notice subtle changes in himself as well. He found himself drawn to Clara's kindness, patience, and sincerity. He enjoyed talking to her, listening to her thoughts, and seeing the way she made his children feel alive again. A quiet admiration began to grow in his heart, a feeling he had not expected but could not ignore. The children, now aware that their choice would matter, felt a sense of empowerment. They had been through loss and sadness, but now they could influence the direction of their family's future. They discussed their feelings openly, sharing their thoughts about Clara's kindness, patience, and the happiness she brought into their lives. Their conversations were filled with excitement, hope, and anticipation. Adrian listened, realizing that his children were learning to trust their instincts and value the qualities that truly mattered in a person. As the days turned into weeks, the process of meeting potential candidates continued, but Adrian noticed that the children's hearts were no longer swayed by wealth or appearances. They had made their choice in their minds even if they had not spoken it aloud to him yet. Their eyes would follow Clara as she moved about the house, their smiles lighting up when she spoke to them, and their laughter flowing freely in her presence. Adrian saw clearly that their connection with Clara was genuine, deep, and lasting. Finally, Adrian felt it was time to let the children express their choice. He knew it would be a delicate moment, one that could shape the future of their family. He planned to give them the opportunity to speak openly, to share their feelings, and to make their voices heard. As he watched Clara continue her work with quiet dedication, Adrian felt a sense of anticipation mixed with nervousness. He understood that the coming days would be pivotal, not just for himself but for the entire family. Through it all, Adrian had learned an important lesson. Love, trust, and connection could not be measured by wealth, beauty, or social standing. They were found in small acts of kindness. The day finally arrived when Adrian decided to give his children the chance to speak their minds openly. He wanted this moment to be special, not rushed, and he wanted Noah and Lily to feel comfortable sharing their true feelings. He gathered them in the living room where sunlight streamed through the tall windows and illuminated the cozy furniture. The atmosphere was calm, almost serene, but there was a sense of anticipation in the air. Adrian had invited a few of the women who had been visiting to spend the day with the family, thinking that this would be the moment for the children to see who truly belonged in their lives. The children sat quietly, their hands clasped in their laps, eyes flicking toward the women who were chatting politely and trying to impress them. Some smiled and waved, hoping to gain their favor, while others brought small gifts and spoke gently about hobbies and travel experiences. Adrian watched the scene unfold, paying close attention to his children's reactions. He knew that he had to stay quiet and let them take the lead, even if the outcome surprised everyone. Noah and Lily exchanged subtle glances, communicating silently as they assessed each guest. They noticed the women's gestures, their tones, and whether they truly seemed interested in their happiness. Some women laughed too loudly, trying to appear charming, while others focused more on Adrian than on the children. It became clear that none of them had the genuine warmth the children were searching for. The room was filled with polite conversation, but the children's smiles were absent. They were polite and well-mannered, but their hearts were elsewhere. Clara, meanwhile, continued her work in the background, quietly moving from room to room. She was focused on making sure the children were comfortable, arranging snacks, and attending to small needs. She had no idea that the children were observing her and comparing her genuine care to the polite gestures of the visiting women. Her humility and sincerity went unnoticed by most adults in the room, but the children saw everything. They saw how she remembered what each of them liked, how she paid attention to small details, and how she treated them as individuals rather than as children to be managed. As the afternoon progressed, Adrian could sense that the children were preparing to make a choice. He leaned back in his chair, giving them space, and tried to remain calm despite the nervous excitement bubbling in his chest. He wanted this decision to come from their hearts, not from pressure or expectation. Noah and Lily shifted in their seats, their eyes following Clara as she moved about the room, arranging cups of juice and small plates of fruit. The children exchanged a glance, then a small nod, signaling that they were ready. Finally, Adrian gently asked, "Do you know who you want to be part of our family?" There was a quiet pause. The women in the room looked curious, some expectant, some puzzled, wondering what the children might say. Noah and Lily hesitated for a moment, then both whispered the name Clara. Adrian felt a shock run through him, followed quickly by a swell of emotion. He looked toward the kitchen where Clara was tidying up, unaware that she had been chosen. She had no idea the impact she had made on their lives. The room went silent. Some of the visiting women forced polite smiles, while others exchanged confused glances. They could not understand how a maid could be the choice over themselves, all their elegance and accomplishments seemingly overlooked. But Adrian remained calm. He understood that the children's choice was sincere, guided by genuine feelings rather than appearances. He knew that this was the kind of love and trust that could not be bought or taught, only felt. Adrian called Clara into the living room. She looked surprised and a little nervous, wiping her hands on her apron as she approached. The children rushed to stand beside her, their eyes filled with anticipation and excitement. Clara's eyes widened as she realized what had happened. She stammered softly, apologizing and saying she didn't deserve such attention. But Adrian gently reassured her, explaining that the children had chosen her because she had shown them true care and love, qualities that could never be replaced by wealth or status. The children hugged Clara tightly, their faces glowing with happiness. They whispered to her how much they admired her kindness, how much they loved her presence, and how she made their home feel full again. Clara's eyes welled up with tears. She had never expected such recognition or affection, yet she felt overwhelmed with gratitude and humility. Adrian watched this scene, his heart swelling with emotion. He realized that the children had taught him a lesson that he would never forget. True love and connection come from the heart, not from social standing or appearance. Over the next few days, Adrian observed the evolving relationship between Clara and his children. He noticed how naturally they gravitated toward her, how easily they laughed together, and how comfortable they felt in her presence. Clara continued to carry out her duties quietly, never flaunting her role or expecting praise. But her sincerity and care had already made her the heart of the household. Adrian began to see her not just as a caretaker, but as someone who had become an essential part of their family, someone who could bring warmth and stability to their lives in a way that no one else could. Adrian also began to reflect on his own feelings. He had spent years focused on wealth, social appearances, and status, believing that these were the measures of success and happiness. But watching Clara interact with his children, he realized that he had been looking in the wrong places. She was patient, kind, and compassionate, qualities that could not be bought or learned overnight. Her presence made him feel calm, safe, and understood in a way that no one else had. Slowly, admiration turned into something deeper, though he hesitated to fully acknowledge it yet. Clara, for her part, continued her quiet devotion to the family. She remained humble and attentive, never seeking to assert authority or claim recognition, yet her influence was undeniable. She had become the center of the children's world, the person they trusted and loved above all others. Adrian watched her from a distance, noting the way she handled challenges with patience, the way she encouraged the children to be themselves, and the way she brought a sense of joy and security to the home. The children's choice also sparked conversations within the household. Adrian spoke gently to Noah and Lily about why they had chosen Clara. They explained in their simple, heartfelt words that she made them feel safe, loved, and understood. They did not mention wealth, beauty, or social status. They spoke only of kindness, patience, and the joy she brought into their lives. Adrian felt a deep sense of respect for their insight. They had chosen wisely, guided by their hearts rather than societal expectations. Adrian knew that revealing the choice to the visiting women would be delicate. Some might feel insulted, others might try to persuade him to reconsider, but he remained confident in his children's decision. He believed that love, trust, and care could not be replaced by charm or material possessions. This realization gave him a sense of clarity he had never experienced before. The children had shown him that genuine connection mattered more than everything else. In the evenings, Adrian observed the subtle changes in the household dynamic. Clara continued to care for the children, guiding them through daily routines and special moments with patience and understanding. The children laughed freely, played joyfully, and seemed to rediscover a sense of security and happiness they had not felt since their mother passed. Adrian felt a mixture of pride and relief. His children had found someone who truly cared for them, and he had discovered a deep appreciation for Clara's presence and influence. As the day came to a close, Adrian reflected on the events that had unfolded. He realized that the process of allowing his children to choose had been as enlightening for him as it had been for them. He had learned that true happiness and connection come from the heart, that love cannot be measured by appearances or wealth, and that the smallest acts of kindness often carry the greatest weight. The children's choice of Clara had taught him a lesson that would shape the future of their family forever. Adrian knew that there were still decisions to be made, steps to take, and conversations to have. But for now, he allowed himself to simply observe and appreciate the genuine bond between Clara and his children. He saw their laughter echo through the halls, their joy shining in their eyes and their trust in Clara growing stronger each day. In that moment, he understood that their choice had not only brought happiness back into the home, but had also opened his heart to the possibility of love, trust, and a family united by sincerity and care. The coming days promised new challenges, new conversations, and perhaps even new surprises. But Adrian felt confident that, guided by his children's wisdom and Clara's unwavering kindness, the family could navigate whatever lay ahead. For the first time in years, the mansion no longer felt empty. It was filled with laughter, warmth, and a sense of hope. Adrian realized that love often appears in the most unexpected places, and that the heart's true guidance can lead to the deepest joy. Watching Clara with Noah and Lily, he knew that the future held something remarkable, a family bound not by wealth or social standing, but by genuine care, trust, and love. After the children had made their choice, Adrian took a step back to observe the household dynamic more closely. He realized that the bond between Clara and his children was growing stronger by the day. Noah and Lily laughed more freely, shared their thoughts without fear, and seemed lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from their young hearts. Clara remained humble, quiet, and attentive, never seeking attention or praise for the love she gave. Her sincerity was palpable, and Adrian began to see that her presence was the missing piece that had brought joy back into their home. Adrian knew he had to approach the situation carefully. The children's choice was clear to him, but he wanted to make sure that Clara understood the depth of her impact on their lives. One morning, he asked her to join him in the sunlit study, a place where they often shared quiet conversations when the household was calm. Clara entered nervously, unsure what this meeting might be about, but Adrian spoke gently, explaining how grateful he was for her dedication, patience, and kindness. He described the changes he had noticed in Noah and Lily, and how her presence had given them stability and happiness. Clara listened quietly, tears forming in her eyes. She was humbled by Adrian's words, feeling both surprised and overwhelmed. She had never expected her efforts to be noticed so deeply, let alone appreciated in such a meaningful way. Adrian assured her that the children's choice had been sincere, guided by their hearts, and that she had truly become a central figure in their lives. Clara felt a warmth she had never known before. She was not only accepted for the work she did, but for the love and care she gave freely and genuinely. Over the following days, Adrian continued to observe the interactions between Clara and the children. He saw how she encouraged Noah's curiosity, answering his endless questions with patience, and how she comforted Lily during moments of fear or frustration. Clara's presence was nurturing, but also empowering. She allowed the children to explore, learn, and express themselves while always providing a sense of safety and reassurance. Adrian realized that her influence went far beyond her duties. She had become a guiding figure, a friend, and a source of comfort for the children. One afternoon, Adrian's elderly father, who had been ill for some time, required assistance. Clara stepped in without hesitation, helping with his care, preparing meals suitable for his condition, and ensuring he felt comfortable and respected. Adrian watched this unfold with quiet admiration. Clara's patience and attentiveness were remarkable, and it became clear to him that her love extended not just to his children, but to the entire family. Her care was sincere, thoughtful, and selfless. Adrian began to feel a growing admiration and affection for her that went beyond respect. He saw qualities in her that he had never realized were so important in a life partner. As the days turned into weeks, Adrian began to reflect on his own feelings more deeply. He had been so focused on social status, wealth, and appearances that he had overlooked the importance of genuine kindness and care. Clara's humility and selflessness were qualities that money could never buy. He enjoyed talking to her, learning about her life, listening to her thoughts, and seeing the positive effect she had on his children. Slowly, he felt an affection for her grow into something deeper, though he still hesitated to acknowledge it fully. Meanwhile, the children's bond with Clara continued to strengthen. Noah and Lily began to confide in her, sharing their fears, dreams, and everyday thoughts. She listened carefully, offered advice when needed, and celebrated their successes with genuine joy. The children felt a sense of security they had not experienced since their mother's passing. They laughed more often, explored new hobbies, and even started looking forward to school days, because they could share small stories with Clara. Adrian saw their happiness and knew that their choice had been wise and heartfelt. Adrian also reflected on the reactions of the women who had visited their home. Some were puzzled, others polite, and a few disappointed by the children's choice. He understood that society would not fully comprehend why Clara, a maid, had been chosen over wealthy, elegant women. But he felt no regret. He knew that true happiness was not determined by social expectations, but by the bonds of love, trust, and genuine care. The children had chosen wisely, guided by their hearts rather than appearances. During this time, Adrian found himself spending more time at home, observing and participating in the family's daily life. He joined in games with the children, shared conversations with Clara, and witnessed firsthand the way she nurtured and guided them. He realized that the love and warmth that Clara provided could not be replicated by wealth or social status. Her presence brought a balance to their lives, filling the mansion with laughter, trust, and hope. One evening, Adrian sat with Noah and Lily after dinner, discussing their experiences and feelings. He asked them how they felt about Clara and why they had chosen her. The children spoke with honesty and clarity. Lily explained that Clara made her feel safe and loved, reminding her of their mother's warmth. Noah said that she was patient, kind, and always made him laugh even when he was feeling sad. Adrian listened, touched by their heartfelt words. He understood that their choice was guided by the most important qualities in a person: empathy, kindness, and the ability to bring joy and comfort to others. Adrian then turned his attention to Clara, inviting her into the living room to join the conversation. She hesitated at first, unsure of what to say or how to respond. The children eagerly shared their feelings with her, expressing their gratitude and love. Clara's eyes filled with tears, overwhelmed by the sincerity and depth of their words. She had never imagined that her simple acts of care could mean so much to a family. Adrian watched the scene with a mixture of pride and emotion, realizing that the children had chosen someone who embodied the heart of their family. As days passed, Adrian noticed subtle changes in himself. He admired Clara's patience, humility, and sincerity. He found joy in spending time with her, listening to her thoughts and observing the natural connection she had with his children. He began to feel a quiet affection for her, a sense of respect and admiration that grew stronger with each passing day. At the same time, he remained mindful of the children's feelings, wanting to ensure that their choice continued to be respected and nurtured. Clara, though aware of the affection in the household, remained grounded. She focused on the needs of the children and the family, never seeking recognition or reward. Her selflessness and dedication created an atmosphere of trust, comfort, and genuine happiness. The mansion, once a place of quiet sadness, now echoed with laughter, playful chatter, and a sense of unity. Adrian understood that Clara's presence had transformed not only his children's lives, but his own as well. Adrian also reflected on the lessons he had learned from this experience. He realized that true connection could not be judged by appearances, wealth, or social standing. Love, trust, and happiness were nurtured through sincerity, patience, and kindness. The children's choice had reminded him of the importance of listening to the heart, valuing genuine care, and embracing the unexpected sources of love and support. Clara's influence had brought these lessons to life in the most powerful way. One afternoon, as the family enjoyed a quiet moment in the garden, Adrian watched Noah and Lily playing with Clara. Their laughter filled the air, and the sun cast a warm glow over the scene. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the choice his children had made. Clara's presence had brought balance, warmth, and love to their lives. He knew that the bonds formed in these simple moments would last a lifetime, shaping the family's future in ways that could not be measured by wealth or status. Adrian began to think about the future and the steps that would follow. He understood that decisions about family, love, and life could not be rushed. He wanted to ensure that Clara felt valued and respected, that the children's choice continued to be honored, and that their home remained a place of joy and comfort. He also reflected on his own feelings, recognizing that admiration and affection had grown into something deeper, something that could potentially shape the family's path moving forward. As evening approached, Adrian watched Clara tuck the children into bed. He saw the tenderness in her actions, the gentle words she spoke, and the way the children responded with trust and love. He realized that this bond could not be manufactured or forced. It had grown naturally, nurtured by care, patience, and genuine connection. Adrian felt a renewed sense of hope, understanding that love and family could be found in unexpected places, and that the heart's guidance often leads to the deepest fulfillment. The mansion, once a place of quiet emptiness, now resonated with warmth, laughter, and hope. Adrian reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point, recognizing that the children's wisdom, Clara's humility, and the bonds they shared had created something extraordinary. He understood that the coming days would bring challenges, conversations, and decisions, but he felt confident that, guided by sincerity, love, and trust, the family could face the future together. In that moment, Adrian felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that the heart had chosen wisely and that the family's journey toward love, unity, and happiness had only just begun.